All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Fuel Pod, episode 104. Good night or good evening, fellas. Welcome to the Austrian GP review. Guys, I got to tell you right off the handle here. That was probably one of the craziest last 40 minutes of a Formula One race I have seen in a long time. It was pretty standard fare there for a while. I mean, Max was building up a pretty solid lead, although Lando was chewing into it. Mercedes looked good. Ferrari got kind of effed, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, although Carlos Sainz looked fine. He had a good day, but it was kind of overshadowed by everything else that happened. But anyway.
Haas looked really good.
Yes, they did. Mike, you got any initial comments before we get into it?
No, let's just jump right on in.
All right, so let's go.
Well,
is for horses.
Oh.
What's up? What's up? I can't hear you.
This, we'll get it out of the way.
Okay.
We'll get it out of the way from Kick Sauber. They did not have a single pit stop over 3 seconds.
But Red Bull did.
That's your backmarker news. That's your
backmarker.
But Red Bull did.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that, man. I would have thought they would have had at least one because Jason's
right. You're not back at the good Mikey.
Red Bull did have one. So let's start with a couple things that I thought was pretty interesting. So in the sprint, which I'm still not a big fan of sprints, although I think it does give everybody an indicator of how the race might look. But the finish for the sprint was Verstappen, Piastri, Norris, Russell, Sainz. So if you take Verstappen and Norris out of that equation, you end up with Piastri, Russell, Sainz, which it very well could have been for the race, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Then you look at the starting grid for the race. Verstappen, Norris, Russell, Sainz. And you take off Verstappen, Norris, and bring Piastri up from P7 because he had that weird-ass issue.
Once again, Piastri, that's 2 weeks in a row, who loves a front row qualifying lap.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got to keep it. He's got to keep it between the paint, man. But let's look at
can't do that.
Let's look at the start of the race. I really want to kind of highlight that because my day kind of almost ended right there, pretty much. So we get to the start of the race. We get to turn one. Piastri clips Leclerc, clips his wings right off right there, and that's pretty much his day. Ferrari's after.
That's it.
Got to tell you, watching social media after the race and through today, and I told Chad and I were talking earlier, and I was talking about this, but everybody giving Ferrari a hard time. Like, okay, they won Monaco, now they're just going to quit for the rest of the season, and that very well may happen. I don't think you can make that call now.
Screwed on all these races.
I don't think that's the case. Sainz had a good day. Like I said, though, it got overshadowed by everything else that happened. Leclerc would have had a good day. And again, when Piastri gave his explanation of what happened, I was okay with it. It still doesn't change the fact that he went around the outside and he clipped the front wing of Leclerc and it ended his day. That's a fact, and it's indisputable. So that kind of ended his day. I mean, he pitted like 17 times. It reminded me of Lando at that one race a year ago or 2 years ago where he pitted like 47 times. But anyway, and he still finished 11th, by the way.
Yeah.
Which that should be amazing in and of itself.
How he did that.
Yeah, he was on a 5-stop strategy and he finished 11th.
Which is crazy.
Yes. So if anything, I think he actually probably drove the wheels off that car. And we just didn't get to see it. But that brings me to the meat of this race, which I've just dubbed the fight zone. Because we had so many. And when I say that, they're not all mean. But first off, we had Magnussen and Hulkenberg in those two Haas's. And they were going at it, man. Mm-hmm. Right behind the start, the front group. And both of those cars looked great. They didn't hit each other. They didn't run each other off the track. It was aggressive. As Lawrence Barretto would say, it was saucy or spicy. But It was good racing, and I enjoyed it. What did you guys think of Haas?
They
Haas had a really good
were surprising and racy, but they did run
Very.
together for a long time and didn't get in each other's way. They were on the radio, saying a few things, doing the normal. Hey, he needs to get out of the way. He's blocked me here. It's normal stuff.
Yeah.
But for Haas to show up and do that, that's something.
Yeah, and
pushed
I got
them
to
to
tell
P7
you,
in the constructors.
I got to tell you, Magnussen's race engineers tried to pull a rookie line on the radio, and somebody as tested and weathered as Magnussen wasn't falling for it. They told him he needed to cool down his tires, and he's like, "Yo, F that, man." He knew better. He knew they were saying, "Hey, we want Hulkenberg to finish ahead." So then the other piece of that you got to look at is Hulkenberg's got a seat. He's got a seat for 2025. He's out there driving, no concern. Magnussen's out here driving for his life right now. Doesn't have a seat. Doesn't know if Haas is going to keep him. All indications is that they aren't. I hope he does find a seat, but there's only 20 seats, man. Not everybody can have one if you're pulling new people.
K-Mag leaves a grid. Who's really going to be that upset?
I think. Yeah, I think.
Well, I think you're the
only
only
moving on
from.
Yeah, I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying I'll be, I like him, man. I like him because he gets behind the wheel of that car and he just drives. And he doesn't care.
But he's still the old regime. So if they're going to try to turn this thing completely around, they started with Gunter Steiner, and it's a whole new ball game here at Haas.
Just rip the Band-Aid off and let it bleed out.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
I understand that. That doesn't not make sense. So yeah, I get that. The next one, and this one was just fun, dude. You just could have pulled up a camp chair and some popcorn and sat right beside, pick any turn. But Gasly and Ocon, man, no love lost there, like zero.
The story's not over.
Story's
not over.
This thing, obviously we've talked about it multiple times, but whatever happened in karting. And neither one has buried the hatchet. It is still going. And they are totally faking their comments when they're like, yes, we've talked it out and, we're getting along now and we're trying to do what's best for the bullshit. But what's more impressive is, they've got a freaking teleprompter back there. Gasly's probably like texting at the same time going, I don't want to say this. This is bullshit. But I will say this: both
of them got their fingers crossed behind their back. I promise.
Yeah, I think they bumped tires a couple times, but I think that was it. I don't think they
didn't do nothing. Nobody got airborne. Nobody got into the side of anybody.
It was professional rivalry. That's just they hate each other.
It's like,
so there's that.
Yeah, it's like 5-year-olds in a race car.
And I was listening to the post race crew, which, by the way, whoever this previous GP2 driver they got, Davide something or other, that dude was hilarious. If you have not watched the post race show, go watch the first 10 minutes, and you'll thank me for it.
Gotcha.
He is hilarious, and the energy level was insane. But he was talking about, he's like, a lot of these teammates are too friendly. He goes, it was really spicy to see two guys that can't stand each other, out there racing. So, that was I think that was a lot of difference. Because you look at Lando and Piastri, they seem to get along okay. I think Sainz and Leclerc are right there on the bubble, but they seem to get along okay. I think Hamilton is finally, I think Hamilton's finally accepted his role at Mercedes and doesn't give a shit anymore. I think Max just ignores Perez.
And Tsunoda are like besties.
I think Max just pretends Checo doesn't exist, which is great because I think that's what everybody's doing.
In that other car.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does
including
anymore.
Perez.
Yes, exactly, and we'll get to that in a minute. But those were two fights I really liked. And the last one is also Gasly and Ocon with a little bit of an Alonso sandwich. So at one point, Ocon's trying to get past Alonso. And I think they were heading down into turn 4, and Ocon kicked out to the right because he was going to get the pass with DRS. And Gasly kicked out to the left and went around and they both almost clipped the front of Alonso's car, to which Alonso used my most famous quote that I use all the time for anybody that knows me, because they literally showed Alonso's audio right off, and he's like, wow.
Yeah.
So, which I thought was great. I was like, yes. But, Alonso had a shit day. He hates that track for some reason. I don't know why, but it's not his favorite place.
He even had a Joe moment into Joe.
Wow, now.
Yeah. Yeah, they I don't know when they were planning on bringing their raft to upgrades, but they obviously missed
an upgrade.
Well, they missed the boat, literally. I mean, it's we're into we've already finished 2 races of a triple header, and they still have not brought an upgrade package. I don't know if they're trying to wait till after summer break, which would be a mistake. Because after Silverstone next week,
I don't know what race it was, but they threw an anchor on that thing.
Yeah,
and it had gone nowhere.
It looks like the Alpine car from a few races ago. And Stroll wasn't even a factor at all.
I didn't hear Stroll's name one time during the race.
No, you didn't. But like I said, we got Silverstone next week, finishes out the triple header. Then we get a little bit of break, and then we get Hungary and Spa. And then it should be the summer break before we head to Monza. And here's the thing. Ferrari's coming to Monza, correct? They're coming to Monza with a full raft of upgrades.
I'm going to be honest. If Ferrari doesn't win Monza, I'd be shocked.
Well, I don't think they're going to win Monza, but
they know they have.
I'd like them to. But guys, we have to talk about the instance at the Austrian GP where they decided to go full NASCAR and have the big one. We wait for, if you watch NASCAR races, you're waiting for the big one every race. I remember Dale Jarrett talking about Talladega. He's like, I don't even want to qualify near the front. I just want to drive in the back for like 2 hours. And just hopefully the big one happens. But
you don't want to be.
Yeah. So for 4 laps in a row, Lando Norris is in DRS with Max. And yeah, I get it. We're about to talk about it. Because I could do the whole. Oh, I can't. My green screen's keeping me from doing it. We could do the whole. I felt like Max was racing okay, but I agree with what Lando was saying on the radio, talking about, hey, he keeps moving, because he did. He was swerving, and he was technically, the rule states you can only make 1 defensive move. And most people will hit that middle of the road move, which kind of deters you from taking the outside or the inside line because you're going to run out of room. And Max kept doing that. And I know Lando was getting frustrated. I know he was probably pissed off. At the same time, he and Max and himself are pretty close. But then Lando had enough. And they come up to turn 3. Mikey's already laughing. They come up to turn 3, and Max moves under braking, which you're not allowed to do, and we'll talk about that in a second. And basically, holy crap. Basically, this happened. And what you don't see in this picture is that, of course, he ended up running his back tire there into Lando's car, and he got a puncture, and the tire came off the rim. But he was able to roll it around to the pits and get back out on the track and finish 5th, which absolutely that was the nail in the coffin for me that pissed me off the most, that he was able to finish and still get such a high points finish because that group was so far ahead of everybody else. But here's the other photo, and it took me forever to find this, and this is the best one I can use without us getting in trouble for using it. But so we talk about moving under braking. So you pick a line going into a corner. Once you're under braking, though, you cannot laterally move left or right. You've got to hold your line, right? And you can say, well, he wasn't moving, he was veering. If you watch the race, and of course, this is a still shot, not a video, right after this moment is when he cuts to, and he cut to the left and forced Lando wide. And you see the 50-yard or the 50-meter marker right there before the turn. He would have definitely, on that turn, if anybody's even drove Austria in the game, knows that you're braking between the 150 and 100-meter board. So he would have already been braking for quite a bit. Both of them would have been. But then again, Lando didn't move. So to me, it was really obvious. But, I mean, I heard where Max said, I did not move under braking. I know very well when I move under braking. Well, obviously not, because he did. And that was entirely his fault. And everything that happened after it was his fault. And unfortunately for Lando, right after the collision, he pops back out on the track and then smokes the tires, and then he has a puncture. I don't think he got a puncture from the contact, or at least it might have, put a spot on it, and then the burnout caused the puncture. Mm-hmm. His puncture wasn't immediate. I was even rooting for him because I'm like, okay, he's going to be fine. But then he pulls around to the pits, and they end up retiring the car. And then somehow, for a reason passing zero understanding, he doesn't get a DNF. They give him a finish of 7 laps down. So, I mean, I'm happy for him. I'm still trying to figure that out, trying to make sense and reconcile that out, because he technically did not finish a race. But,
which means if you have fantasy, you're in the clear.
Yeah. You guys got off like scot-free if you had Lando this week without the 20-point deduction, or 40 if you had the DRS boost on.
Which is stupid.
But guys, Lando got screwed with his race suit on, and everybody knows it, and it was 100,000% Max's fault. I'm not going to tell you where I got either one of those lines. You happy, Jason? I worked them both in without even.
I didn't even think you were going to do that.
Didn't even sweat that. If Mikey had one that fit, I would have worked that in. But you know what? Attaboy, Fernando. That's all I'm going to say. But guys, I'm not. I mean, it's my record's clear. I'm not a McLaren fan, but I could admit when somebody gets screwed, and he absolutely got hosed bad on that.
Absolutely,
with
no question,
no Vaseline whatsoever. And of course, that the driver of the number 63 car for Mercedes got lucky and inherited that win. So good job for Toto and for Lewis and the team. I was happy for him there. That they were able to finally pull out a win. First one since Brazil, 1948. But still, decent race for them. But anyway, guys, let me get your all's take on the wreck while Jason's laughing, Mikey.
I'm going to adjust real quick. Jason, you want to go first?
Huh?
Or I can.
I don't even know.
I got a couple of things to say.
Okay. Hey, you got it. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you got it.
So, I told you last night.
Don't worry.
I can't be happy for Oscar without accepting what happened. Okay.
Yeah, I stand by that.
I accept what happened. Am I happy about that?
I mean, you kind of called it.
But I'm happy for Oscar.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the Mercedes P1, P4. Great job. The incident.
That's what I want to hear from you on. I want to hear about the incident.
So right off the bat, everybody's exploding. And let me tell you about, I'm sitting at home, right? I've got me and my daughter, 2 huge McLaren fans, 2 of Lando's biggest fans, right?
Yeah.
On the other side of her is Toby Bobobi, Max's biggest fan. We went from extreme, I mean, the highest level of competition and excitement to, oh my God, what just happened in an instant?
Right.
Then, of course, it's his fault, right? Max's fault. And it's, of course, on Twitter, it's all Max's fault. Everything.
It's all Twitter.
But now you're reading today, though. Oh, well, they should have told Lando that he got his 4th strike and was going to get a 5-second penalty for track limits. If he would have known that before the accident, maybe he would have backed off, and just not pushed. So is it the FIA's fault?
It's always the FIA.
The FIA was cooking this weekend with penalties. It was unreal.
Yeah.
Here's what my thing is. It's with Red Bull and the culture. Max is driving. That's Red Bull culture.
Right.
And I'm gonna give you a quote. I'm gonna give you a quote by Mark Twain.
Okay.
It says, the offspring of riches, pride, vanity, ostentation, arrogance, and tyranny. That sums up Red Bull.
You're not wrong, man.
They are champions, right?
Right.
Let's look at the team and how they walk around like their shit don't stink, like they're untouchable.
That's true.
There's a garage full of egos there. Nobody gets along. Christian Horner don't get along with Helmut. Hell, probably the greatest car designer in history said he's getting the hell out because he can't get along with nobody because he's tired of dealing with the egos. It also, I mean, everything they do. And I can't hear Christian Horner saying Max's 10-second penalty was harsh. It did no good, and he's still saying this shit. Dude, shut your mouth. This starts with you. This starts with Christian Horner. Let's go to the first of the season and whatever his dirty deeds were that got swept under the table.
Right.
That we didn't get into. Shit like that they're getting away with, and it's built their culture. We're untouchable. Right? And those stuff with, Max, is he going to go to Mercedes? Is he, and all that? And they screwed the hell out of Liam Lawson. Just tell the damn truth, people. What are you doing? Just be straight up.
Right.
Instead of being, I don't know. There's always something going on with them. And it's because
they're
at
the center, yes, man. They're at the top.
Yeah. They are champions, right? And people can say, oh, they've earned that. They've earned that arrogance. Yeah, it's going to bite them. It's going to bite them. It goes with anything in life. You either be humble or you will be humbled. At some point. It may not be today, may not be tomorrow. It could be 2026. But it's going to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, Audi, you're not wrong. 2026. He's coming in hot.
So I think Max is driving. He can't lose. He can't. So, yeah, he's going to continue to do stuff like that because he thinks he can get away with it.
Well,
so, yeah,
I figured you had to be hot, man, because it was, it had to just deflate the tires for McLaren.
Like I said, I'm happy for Oscar, and it wouldn't have happened for him. He wouldn't have been on the podium without it.
Right.
And I can get over the incident. I can get over that. No problem. But this is going to continue. If not,
this all starts with Oscar.
Lando this week, Lando this week is going to be next week. Anybody that comes close to him,
yeah,
it's going to be the same thing, unless something's done.
Yeah, I'm sort of actually worried about when these guys are that close wheel-to-wheel racing mainly because we haven't seen this close to wheel-to-wheel racing since probably 2021 when it was Max and Lewis. And even then, those races kind of went back and forth.
Yeah. up until the very end of the season.
Right. But, the other piece of that is we're going to get to a place like Spa where you've got massive elevation changes and you've got some blind turns and you've got a bus stopper at the end and you've got probably a 99% chance of rain at some point. And these two are going to be driving angry for quite a bit because I don't think this is going to get settled this week.
I've felt this for a few weeks now. And when it comes to qualifying, you saw it in the sprint and in races before. These two are going to find each other at the front. And I've had that feeling watching qualifying. Hey, P3 may be the place to be.
Yeah.
I've been feeling that for the last few weeks. It turns out P3 is the place to be.
That number 63 car had probably the best view, and then he was like, oh shit, I'm just gonna go around here and okay, cool, bye guys. Man, before we forget too, I wanted to talk about, see if you had your comments on this and I'm gonna burn my own team here. But Piastri's move on Sainz to get ahead of Sainz was legit.
It was
that was the most legit move for the podium.
That was the most legit move in the entire race.
That was two passes on the outside of turn 6 that Piastri had.
Yeah. But he only needed the one.
I forgot who he passed the first
I've already
time,
picked on my team enough. You don't get to also do it. But yeah, technically, because look at it. So Lando and Max wreck out. George just drives through the carnage. And then Piastri actually had to put a move on Sainz, and it was good. And it was legit. And it was an honest overtake. And it was probably the overtake of the race. I didn't see what got the crypto.com. I don't think anybody cared after the Lando Max thing happened. It was like, I didn't even see him actually flash up driver of the day.
All I know is I saw it on Twitter. It was Lando. So
yeah, it was Lando, which was crazy. I think Lando's the first DNF to get driver of the day.
You're wrong. Nobody DNF'd. Loser.
Okay, I'm still calling that a DNF, but
I'm just
it'd be like if like Logan Sargent got driver of the day for spinning out or doing something crazy like that.
Yeah, but Logan Sargent does
the
it
best
on the
part,
daily.
The saving grace was Fernando.
Yeah.
After the accident, Lando steps out of his car. Max just came in and got him some softs. He knew he was locked into his position. He wasn't going to gain any ground, wasn't going to lose any ground. He's going to go for fastest lap. He sets it immediately on his brand new softs. But the last lap of the race, here comes Fernando Alonso and knocks him off that spot. That was the saving grace.
And the best part is he doesn't get any points for that because he finished it. He finished it way outside of the top 10.
Yeah.
By the way, apparently in Great Britain, that means really good if you're the dog's bollocks.
Are you sure? Because that doesn't sound right.
No, it sounds terrible. But if you don't believe me, YouTube it. But apparently that's a really good thing. So we're running with it. So anyway, Fernando is the dog's bollocks. Sorry guys, I had some fun with tickers tonight. It was something new, and it just oh my crap, we got comments, and I was sitting here playing around with tickers. Who is this? Well, welcome to the chat, not from 63rd. And yeah, man, I agree with it. Yeah, Crash Stappen. It's been a long time since I even heard that word for him.
Crazy. I haven't heard that in a minute.
Yeah.
Crash Stappen. Oh my God.
We didn't bring that up tonight at all. But yeah, there's a lot of people on social media the past couple days talking about how this is the old school Max, and we're going to see that version of him. And Chad and I were talking about this morning, and I disagree with that. I still think we have a mature Max, and the reason I think that is because when they asked him after the race what he thought of the incident, I don't know if you guys caught that. Old Max would have said, he would have been livid about it. But
he would have been like George.
This Max was like, yeah, these things happen and it's unpleasant. And he goes, I really want us both to have a chance to cool down and watch the video and see what happened and then talk it out. And that's not Crash Stappen. But Yeah,
No, but the
it looked
move
like
was-
it looked like it on the circuit. I'll give everybody that one. I'll concede that
was-
one. I was not happy. Yeah, so but still, dude, overall that was a fantastic Austrian Grand Prix to watch. It was good all around. You know, a lot of people will hate our side of the pond as far as racing because they think all we're in it for is the wrecks. I just like the drama of the race itself and the back and forth, but that was a fun one to watch. It was fun to see that meltdown between two people that get along really well, that are, you know, by all records are close friends, and hopefully they can patch this up. Hope, because I don't think this is going to be a meet in the middle situation, because Lando laid down the law and said he's going to have to come to me. So I don't know if there's going to be a compromise there, but they're going to have to figure it out and figure out how to reconcile that, because we can't have these two fighting weekend and week out. That's for sure. I mean, I'd love to see them race close like they were doing right up into the incident, but I don't want to end up with a situation like at Monza that year where Max ended up laying on top of Hamilton's car. So, because that's just dangerous. But anyway, man, I thought it was a good race. I had a couple of takeaways, although Jason already burnt one of them. I wanted to talk about. I was really happy for Haas, man, and I usually am never happy for Haas. I know they're the only American team, so it was good to see them do what they did this weekend with that car.
Well, they're doing better than the American driver.
And Hulkenberg looked. I mean, he looked like. I get it; it's a midfield car, but he looked like a rock star out there, man, running around. He did a great job all weekend. Both of them did, but I mean, I felt like Hulkenberg kind of outshined K-Mag a little bit.
He looked like the Nico that we all know and love.
And guys, we got to talk about this. Mikey, I know you and I go back and forth with this, and I know what side of the fence you're on, but Danny Ricciardo shows up this weekend. On the back of his helmet, he's stamped "not without a fight" because he got tore up in social media again.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of it was unwarranted because he has outperformed Yuki in the last handful of races.
I think it's the last 3 races.
And this weekend he finished 9th place, P9.
Oh, 9.
And Sonoda was P14.
14. Yep.
He also out-qualified him, even though he barely got kicked out of Q2. So, anyway, I thought he did a good job this weekend.
Oh, Danny Rick nailed it. He's doing perfect.
I mean, he's head and shoulders above where he was. Is he back to form? No. I don't have a problem saying he's not, but he's also getting older. So whatever the peak form for him is going to be different than what we were used to anyway.
When he was in a Red Bull, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mikey, I'll give you a chance to comment on it. I'm really upset about Yuki too, by the way, because he's just really fallen off.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what their deal is. I don't.
Yeah.
Once the race started, I wasn't even paying attention to them.
I wasn't either. I'm
I
not
didn't
going to
know
lie to you and
till
say
this
I was
morning
sitting
that
there.
Danny was even in the points.
Yeah.
They're kind of a non-entity.
But man, he did a couple good things in the race. He held that pack back for a while, which was cool. And he was right in there with Hulkenberg and Alonso for a bit before Alonso fell off. So that part was good as well. So anyway, guys, we got Silverstone next week. Probably one of my favorite Grand Prix. And we've talked about it before, but you know, to me, this is one of the unwritten majors of Formula One racing, since Formula One technically doesn't have major championships, but Silverstone is certainly one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Mike, I don't know if you knew this or not, but you and I both called P1 for this Austrian Grand Prix last week. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. And who's your podium this week for Silverstone?
Don't do it. Don't do it again.
And we'll close out the week. We'll close out the show tonight.
Max, Piastri,
Don't repeat.
Hamilton.
Wow. Okay. Max, Piastri, Hamilton. That's Mikey's pick. Jason, who you got?
My podium is going to be Max,
Yeah.
Carlos, and Mercedes.
Okay, so I'm going with the full Brit podium of Lando,
Oh God.
the driver of the number 63 car, and Lewis Hamilton, with a possible P3 upset by Carlos Sainz. So
I think Carlos Sainz deserves podium this race.
Yeah.
That was good.
So that's my call. So make sure
I'm afraid that I want to say Lando, but I'm afraid some frustrations are going to carry over and going to affect his performance.
Yeah, I absolutely think he's going to get the best of himself next race, and he's gonna do something that he shouldn't do.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with either one of you.
coming.
That's why I wouldn't even pick Leclerc up there, because from 2 years ago, where he got thrown off the track by Max.
By
So,
crash.
I think a lot of people have some tarnished feelings about Silverstone, but dude, such a great circuit, such a great history.
So good.
Oh yeah, I
Even
love
its non-racing history as an airfield in World War II, it's a really cool history and a really cool circuit. But guys, that's all I got. Do you guys have anything before we close out? All right. Well, thank you everybody, and for the people that
Enjoy
watch
the full
this, everybody that watches this broadcast later on during your work week, thank you very much. We appreciate it. I'm JNeil 729. This is 2D4, and that's JP Freak 625. At the bottom, you guys have a great evening. And we'll see you next week to talk about how well Silverstone went. Also, congratulations, George Russell.